Hey guys, LevelCap here, and welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming, the new show where we cover all things FPS. If you want to know more about any of the specific stories we are covering, be sure to check our sourced articles in the video description. In our first story today, two DDoS attackers from Lizard Squad and PoodleCorp have been charged with conspiring to cause damage to protected computers. Zachary Bukta at 19 from Maryland and Willem van Rooij, also 19 from the Netherlands, both face a potential maximum prison sentence of 10 years if they're convicted. Lizard Squad and PoodleCorp have claimed responsibility for multiple DDoS attacks against gaming servers, like the one that brought down the Battlefield 1 beta, and also one that took down Blizzard servers multiple times over a 24-hour period. PoodleCorp has also threatened to take down the Battlefield 1 game servers on launch day. It's unclear whether the arrest will stop the attack from going forward. These attacks have carried no political message, but are rather just the most extreme form of trolling to gamers and potentially product ruining for developers. Hopefully a 10-year prison sentence will serve as an adequate deterrent to other DDoS groups. Imagine going to prison for 10 years at the age of 19. That's gonna be rough. Alright, now talking about Battlefield 1, DICE this week revealed that the game is going to include integrated creative tools to make spectating matches and filming cinematic videos, something that even console players have the power to do. Before, we've had sort of third-party tools that people had to join unranked servers in order to capture footage. You actually ran the risk of getting your account banned because these tools were technically considered like cheats or hacks in the game. So if the system caught you, it would ban your Battlefield account. Now they actually have official tools integrated to the game engine. Personally, I think some of the best beauty shots of the Battlefield games have come from independent content creators like Shadow6 and Burdu, and there's actually a really good video from Shadow6 showing all the features of what you can do with the new spectator camera controls. And you can find a link to that video in the description. The new tools may actually make esports a more watchable event for Battlefield games because you now have more advanced camera controls for following people and following the action. If you can't follow the action adequately, then it makes matches very hard to understand when watching them as a spectator. Console players obviously also have a lot to look forward to as well. There are plenty of great players on console who can't turn their gameplay into cinematic montages or use the game as a platform for movie making. With these tools, those players will finally have a chance to do things PC players have been doing for years. Ubisoft has also released a gameplay video of Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands, showing off some really cool stealth gameplay that you can do playing co-op with 3 other players. It's a fairly long video, but entertaining the whole way through, showing how you can infiltrate a base, rescue a VIP, and get out without having to take out every single guard in the base. You can have one of your squad mates sniping and spotting from afar, pointing out targets. You can have other people setting demolition charges to use as distractions. You can even break out prisoners who will cause riots throughout the base. The game seems fairly interactive and fun. It kind of reminds me of a Far Cry style game, but with 4-player co-op as an option. Now we also got a bunch of new details from Activision regarding the new Call of Duty Infinite Warfare multiplayer beta, which is taking place later this month on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. PlayStation 4 users getting it first on October 14th, and then Xbox One getting it on October 21st. Unfortunately, PC players aren't getting a beta this time around, which makes me think, as usual, that the Call of Duty is going to be a crappy port for the PC. Mouse delay input issues have been a consistent issue with the PC versions of Call of Duty titles throughout the past years, and they've shown no interest in fixing it, as it's been pretty much the same issue in every single title. So we'll have to wait and see for the PC release. I have actually really enjoyed the Call of Duty 4 remastered single-player campaign, though I was playing it on PS4, so naturally it felt good and well optimized. And if you want to see my review video of that, you can check it out here. Now this week is a big one for VR enthusiasts. With PlayStation VR reviews starting to roll in, Oculus Rift's touch controllers announced, and a ton of new VR games revealed, it looks like VR's first year is just now heating up. Probably the biggest VR news this week is the PlayStation VR reviews are here and they sound very promising. Priced at $400 or $500 depending on what bundle you purchased, the PSVR is easily the cheapest VR solution available. But despite it being a budget option, it still offers premium VR experiences. Most reviews have noted the PSVR's headset is by far the most comfortable unit on the market, with the only major issue being the positional tracking not being that ideal. That said, I'm sure Sony will be addressing the tracking issues in a future software update if they can. In pretty much every way, it's clear that Sony took PSVR very seriously and have delivered a quality product. PC VR hardware and software sales took a nosedive recently because there really just aren't a lot of great titles or software for the Rift or Vive yet. This is where I think Sony has really hit the nail on the head. Not only is the setup process easier, but it's also more portable because you only need to plug it into the PlayStation, in addition to which it doesn't necessarily take up the TV. So if you want to play a VR game on the PlayStation and somebody else wants to watch something on the TV, they are more than welcome to do so. And although the PlayStation VR might not have the best hardware on the market, it certainly offers some of the best VR software, with Oculus recently lowering the hardware specs to support the Rift to something that can fit into a $500 PC. The barrier for entry to premium VR hardware is only getting lower, but it's anyone's guess how quickly Valve and Oculus will catch up to Sony's software. Oculus also announced the price and release date for the Rift's VR controllers this week. Priced at $200, the Oculus Touch controllers are proving to be as good, if not better, than the Vive's current wand-style controllers. Now, $200 for hardware that's pretty much essential to complete the immersive VR experience is kind of a tough sell to me. These controllers really should have been included with the Rift at launch, and at this point it makes the complete Rift system even more expensive than the Vive. So basically, whatever value people saw in the Rift being cheaper VR systems just went straight out the window. The Rift and the Vive basically cost the same amount now, so it really comes down to whoever has the best software. Though as a PC gamer with a high-end PC and a Vive, I'm looking at the PSVR as a fairly attractive option simply because there's so many good titles over there right now and hardly anything on the Vive. Most of the games I've played on the Vive were developed by 1 or 2 people, very small production teams, not a lot of polish or amazing graphics. So it's really just disappointing having to play all these sort of indie titles, borderline cell phone games on extremely expensive hardware. In more traditional gaming news, it sounds like Mafia 3's launch isn't going so well. The game has some crashing issues, looks generally unimpressive, and worst of all, launched with a 30 FPS cap. A patch this weekend is expected to unlock the frame rate if it's not out already, but even so, what the hell, man? I get that not everyone's PC can run every game at 60 FPS, but not even giving people the option to play at a higher frame rate just makes no sense to me. Game developers should know that the gaming experience is always better at a higher frame rate. Anything less than an unlocked FPS just isn't acceptable to the PC audience anymore. Now that being said, it sounds like Microsoft has finally hit a PC port out of the park. Initial reviews of Gears of War 4 on both Xbox One and PC are saying that it runs great. Considering the remaster of Gears of War 1 on PC was pretty terrible and most of the Windows Store PC titles have had a ton of issues, it's a relief to finally see Microsoft putting out a quality title. And all it took for Microsoft to get their game together was many epic level failures of game releases. Hopefully we can set a new standard moving forward with games released on the Microsoft Store. Personally, I think the UI still completely sucks, but if you spend the time to try and figure it out, you can ultimately download your games and install them in the places that you want to install them. Microsoft, quick tip here, Steam's been doing this for a while. Just copy and paste some of what they're doing rather than trying to reinvent the wheel. In our last bit of news, Washington State Gambling Commission has ordered Valve to stop any skin gambling happening for CSGO or third-party websites. Ever since CSGO Lotto blew up in T. Martin's face, Valve has been very proactive about shutting down skin gambling, despite it's clearly making them a boatload of cash. They've sent out cease and desist to over 40 sites, and if this ruling is proof of anything, it's that skin gambling was a very real and serious issue. And despite the people who ran and operated these gambling websites claiming that it technically wasn't gambling because of whatever legal loophole, well, Washington State disagrees. And for those of you wondering why Washington State specifically is getting involved, that's where Valve is located. So they actually have some power over Valve in what they can and can't do legally. Anyway, that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing out.